Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm going to be talking about another episode from season 1. I'm kind of going in order at the moment, skipping over segments I've already covered. So I am up to The Boy from the C.C.C. If you're enjoying these, please do hit like and subscribe and feel free to share with anyone you think might enjoy. The Boy from the C.C.C. covered the story of Gino, played by the fabulous Michael Rupert. And he has been discovered in the woods about to kill a raccoon that Elizabeth ultimately tries to rescue. But he is injured in a knife fight with John Boy. Drama. And then because he sprains his ankle, John Boy invites him home. During the time that he is at our house, he proves to be a very challenging house guest. He's not very communicative with the family. He is defensive and rude. Grandma doesn't trust him. She thinks he's shifty, and her suspicions are borne out when ultimately Gino steals from the family, tries to steal from the family. John contacts the sheriff, but being a Waltons episode, there is a happy ending. At the very beginning of the episode, you see John Boy, Mary Ellen, and Elizabeth, who have gone to get new Sunday school shoes for Elizabeth. Interesting that Elizabeth is the only one wearing shoes in this scene. I suddenly was like, oh my goodness, we're running through the jungle and neither Richard or I have shoes on. Clearly, I was very comfortable being barefoot at that point. I was barefoot all the time at home. I used to run around, outside playing with my friends, and we were always barefoot. So it was actually no big deal for me to be running around outside barefoot. But we did quite a bit of that early in the season, and in this episode, we are barefoot quite a bit. Another example of the Waltons working with animals. In this case, the raccoon, which Elizabeth saves from being killed by Gino because he's hungry. She is here carrying the raccoon, raccoons are not an animal that I would typically think of as a pet or a particularly safe animal to be interacting with, but clearly this was a studio working raccoon, so it would have been as safe as possible for Cammie to be handling. But she seems perfectly comfortable. Recently, I was talking with someone who said, how amazed they were at all the animals, and what would they have done if someone had said, "Oh, I'm terrified of animals," or I don't want to carry that or touch that. But we just all kind of went along with whatever we were directed to do, and Cammie did a fabulous job interacting with this raccoon. I was noticing in this episode how many eating scenes we had. Here we are at the beginning when we first bring Gino home, and he dives into this. I remember this specifically. It was, I believe, chipped beef with biscuits, and he just is scarfing it down because he's starving. Then a little later on, we are at the breakfast table, and then a little later on, we are at the breakfast table again. So 3 pretty good sized kitchen eating scenes for the property department to deal with and for us to deal with. And, spoiler alert, Mama, Michael, takes a bite of food here. There we go, we have evidence. So the "she never ate" wasn't quite entirely true. And I know a number of you have commented when you suddenly see an episode and say, "I saw her take a bite." I think maybe at some point I'll accumulate an entire reel of the times that Michael actually ate. Adorable little moment here where Elizabeth is talking to a flower, and Gino comes and sits and talks with her, and I just thought that was so sweet. Do plants hear? Do they respond? Do your plants grow better when you talk to them? Weigh in on that below. When Gino overhears Grandma saying that she wouldn't trust having Gino in the house, he is quite defensive about it. And Olivia apologizes for him overhearing that and for hurting him. I thought that was really indicative of the empathetic nature of Olivia in particular in relating to people. She could be harsh and stern, but she did have a great deal of empathy and compassion for others. Since we were filming in the middle of a pretty good-sized city, I've talked about dealing with noises and all that. In this case, as John Boy and Gino are walking from where the garden is over to where they ultimately stand and chat, in the background over that ridge, you see telephone poles. Not very 1930s on Walton's Mountain, is it? But it goes by so fast when you're just watching it that if I hadn't paused, I would have missed it. John talks about heading off to spend the day helping a neighbor train his new bird dog, for which he's going to earn $5. Everyone is astonished by $5 being such a large amount of money, which it was for us at that point in time. And after he earns it, he proudly displays it for the family. This leads to Gino being tempted by those funds. We see Mama actually locking both the front door and the back door. I don't specifically remember seeing anybody lock doors very often in the series. Sometimes when people came in at night, they might have unlocked the door, but we lived in an area where probably we didn't lock the doors very much. But Gino does break the lock. He has seen where Mama put that money, and he prepares to steal it. There's quite a strong moment here with John when he catches him. I love the lighting in this. The lightning flashes is all that we're using to light it with, and then we see John's face when he catches him. I wouldn't mess with John Walton, not with a gun in his hand. John advises Gino about this crossroads in his life and the choices he has and what could be ahead for him in life. Gino doesn't get this at this point in time, and he's asking what's up with this family, and John Boy basically sums up what this family means, that it's really about the love and the caring, that it's not about the $5 or the money. No, they don't have money, but they have something much more valuable. Although John has sent Jason to tell Ike to let Ep Bridges know that he wants to talk to him. When the sheriff does arrive, by this point, John has decided not to turn Gino in for the attempted thief and potentially for running away from the C.C.C. and instead says he wants to go quail hunting. So Ep is misdirected effectively. Then when Elizabeth's raccoon, Pete, who has been very sick, dies, and we have this very touching funeral in the pouring rain. Now this was man-made rain. We put up these huge rain birds and we got pretty drenched, as you see. And Elizabeth is so upset with Daddy because she feels he could have saved Pete, but he wasn't around and didn't care, and so she's very mad at him. She runs off, and Gino is the one who goes and talks with Elizabeth and talks about the loss in his life, losing his mother and his father, and what that was like, watching his father suffering, and that in the end he felt that death was welcome rather than dealing with the suffering. So once again, someone has been impacted by their time with the Waltons and has turned their life around. A very sweet subplot in this episode involves Jim Bob, who initially Ben is following him and is threatening him to confess what he's doing because the shadow knows. So a callback to a show of the period, The Shadow Knows, The Shadow. And then I love this scene where Jim Bob and Ben are underneath the bed. Ben is searching for a marble and comes across this ad that Jim Bob found about how you can make all this money by selling bluing. He ultimately confesses to Mama that he has 20 cents because he went to the Baldwins and sold them bluing. But now he doesn't know how to order the bluing, and he doesn't even know what bluing is. And Mama is very sweet with him and says that she will help him. She will take the 20 cents to Ike, she will get the bluing for the Baldwin sisters, and that Jim Bob will get a commission for it. In a lovely final moment here, we see as everyone runs from the barn with all the rain pouring down, a rainbow. I don't know whether that was created or whether that was naturally occurring, but it's sort of a metaphor, isn't it, for Gino's life that has been positively impacted by his time with the Waltons. And hopefully the Waltons served as a bit of a rainbow for some of you in your lives over the years. That's what I have for you for this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons about the boy from the C.C.C. I'll be back with more Behind the Scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.